Shalom, Mashpaka. All praises due to the Most High. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, in Jesus' name, we come again to you on Jacob's Ladder. My name is Brother Kahal.
Brother Israel.
It's Brother Jeremiah.
Coming again with another study. But before we get started, once again, we say like, share, and subscribe. And to the channel, and then we're going to give a shout out or acknowledgement to the affiliate channels or channels that we respect. Brother Laab and Blaze Judah brings out a lot of the fruits of the Spirit. Got Brother Mainstream, Brother Jermaine on his channel, Mainstream, and then you got Brother Eli with Yearning for Knowledge. And most high willing, we get the good knowledge, rounded understanding on what this awakening and this truth is all about. And so pretty much we're going to hop right into it. So this study that we're doing is understanding the three covenants. And we're at part 1. So, like I said, the biggest confusion out there is, that, God gave the covenant to the Jews and they fell and opened it up to the Gentiles. So now that gave access to everybody. And it's like, really? I say, have you guys read? Now you hear people that think they understand the scriptures. They regurgitate, and it's like when you talk to so many people and you're hearing the same thing, and it's like, look, you guys sound like you haven't studied yourself. It sounds like you're regurgitating, conversations I've had 20 times, 20 different conversations ago about the same subject. You guys are regurgitating the same thing, meaning that you didn't personally study this yourself. You're rehearsing something that you've been taught and thinking that you're standing solid on a concept that you really haven't researched. And that's fine. If you're seeking truth, now what I'm saying is fine. If you're somebody that's seeking truth, is willing to get off that train of confusion and hop on the train of truth, and says, all right, let's see if you can bring it. Then let's see if we can get to some understanding here. So, like I said, and it's really mixed up in that Caesar Christian covering of a church, meaning the Catholics generally. I'm not saying every single last man, children, and boy, because there may be somebody here and there that's a part of that system that has a clue. They're just maybe not putting it out there. Who knows? I don't know. But from a general standpoint, or for the masses, he falls under the Catholics, Jehovah's Witness, all different types of Christian denominations, Seventh-day Adventists. It doesn't matter. They all come with some level of this. So now, with that being said, let's see if we can get some understanding of how we arrived at 3 covenants to reestablish the eternal kingdom. How the 3 covenants, which are separate covenants, how they work together to establish that. So let's go.
All right, so we're going to Genesis chapter 2, verse 16. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die.
All right, so let's start for the beginning of verse 16 again.
And the Lord God commanded.
Right there. The Lord God commanded. Right? That right there in itself, if you want to understand, this is where I say the first covenant Hebrew camps bringing confusion into this awakening and trying to get onto that narrow path of Christ. Is when you're talking about commandments of the Most High, you got to understand what commandment that is the supreme commandment, what commandment that we're always under at all times, no matter what time in history that we're in. It doesn't matter what was said in the past. It doesn't matter what's going to go on in the future. Matters is what's going on right now and today when you're talking about the commandment of God. And it's like what he says. What I tell you right now is what you're under. And if you get that concept, it's obeying the voice of God. Obeying the voice of God is the concept. If you get that concept, no man will ever be able to deceive you if you can build solidly around the truth on that. And all this other nonsense that you hear, you can just flip it off, and everywhere. It's like, look, it's obeying God's voice. Whether we're on the Mosaic laws or we're in the Gospels or we're over here or over there, it's obeying God's voice. And this is where Adam failed. He failed from not obeying the voice. So let's keep going.
Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. And then the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise.
So here you got is the item at hand. It's not about the fruit. It's not about what was contained in the fruit, who made the fruit, who did. It doesn't matter of any of that stuff. All it matters is the Most High said, don't eat it. Obeying his voice. What was desire there? This item, which was greater than the voice of God, was going to make me greater than what I am right now. So I replaced the voice of God for this item for power. That's what you got going on with Eve. Go ahead.
And it says, she took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat.
So ultimately, she got him to disobey the voice of God. So now we're in an issue because the voice of God has been disobeyed. Has nothing to do with the fruit, even though that was a player in the game. Has nothing to do with it. The point is, you disobeyed my voice. That is the crux of why we are in this mess that we're in right now. Go ahead.
So we jump down to Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil.
So now you got the same player that was in the garden trying to go after the second Adam in the same type manner. Go ahead.
And when he had fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when he had tempter come to him, he said, if thou be the Son of God, command that the stones be made bread.
Now, mind you, he's bringing it back to food again. He had the first Adam fall for sense around food. And now you got the second Adam that he's coming up with the same thing. No new thing under the sun. God required what is past. He did the same. He recycled the same thing from the first Adam to the second Adam. Go ahead. Then what his Christ's response was?
Real quick, I want to point something out too.
Go ahead.
His temptation was even more than what Adam and Eve had to do with, because he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. They were eating whatever they wanted all the way up to that point. So they wasn't even like at the point of being hungered. He didn't eat for 40 days and 40 nights and still got tempted with that, just to show you how much stronger his bull was. Just something to point out. So verse 4. And he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone.
See, man should not live by bread alone. What was that fruit that Eve ate? The desire to be wise? She was depending on the bread to give her power that the voice of God could have gave her far greater than her eating of the bread. So you don't live by the bread, which was the fruit, but what?
But by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God.
Is obeying God's voice. So the second Adam corrected the folly that happened in the garden by that statement, in that event right there. All right? It's obeying the voice.
You know, when you
go ahead.
When you think about the whole concept that basically if you follow the words that come out of the Most High's mouth, you're gonna have everything you need over trying to make a decision to go do something different just by following his voice. He literally was speaking life, and if you'd have followed his word, you would have had life. But if you don't follow his word, you get death. So his words are literal life. That's what you know. So I don't know. Just thinking about it from a perspective of, man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. His words are literal life. So it's an interesting concept when you really break it down in your own mind.
Absolutely. And you think about this, and I don't want to go too far off the rails with this, but now you think about what's coming up, what's scheduled to come up in the future with the mark of the beast. Satan, mark, you want to eat, take the mark. Goes back to the food, power, bow down to me, disobey the voice of God, food, eat, mark of the beast. So you got that recycling once again. So be prepared. So you have two situations. You saw how Adam fell. You saw how Christ rectified how Adam fell. Now it's going to be in your lap to face that temptation if it's the Most High's will. All right, here we go.
Yeah. So the book of Adam and Eve, chapter 3, or chapter 3?
Yeah.
Chapter 3.
Oh, yeah. I was supposed to put the regular number with it.
You know how I go with the Roman numerals. Concerning the promise of the great 5.5 days. God said to Adam, I have ordained on this earth days and years, and you and your descendants shall live and walk in them until the days and years are fulfilled, when I shall send the word that created you and against which you have transgressed, the word that made you come out of the garden and raised you when you were fallen.
So right here, he's telling you, Adam, he says, I'm going to bring you and your descendants back in. So don't we all, everybody on the earth, every nation on the earth, descend from Adam?
Yep.
So is that a promise to Adam to bring all the descendants back into the garden? Not every last individual, but from all the nations. Isn't there the promise right there?
Yeah.
Right. There you go. So does that have anything to do with the fall of the Jews for the descendants of Adam to come back into the garden? No, has nothing to do with that. But go ahead.
Verse 2, it says, yes, the word that will again save you when the 5.5 days are fulfilled. But when Adam had heard these words from God of the great 5.5 days, he did not understand the meaning of them. For Adam was thinking there would only be 5.5 days for him until the end of the world. And Adam cried and prayed to God to explain to him. Then God, in his mercy for Adam, who was made after his own image and likeness, explained to him that these were 5,500 years, and how one would then come and save him and his descendants.
So there you go. You got the prophecy. So you know from the time that Adam fell up into the time that Christ comes, it's going to be 5,500 years. So that should tell you how long this block of age and time is on this earth. This world that we're in. Not the earth, the age of the earth, but the age of this world where we're at in time from the time of the fall of Adam. So there you go, right there. He's telling you the descendants are all going to come in. So before we even get to the covenants between Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this was already being promised to Adam. Mm-hmm. So how can you use the fall of the Jews, because the northern kingdom wasn't even in the land, the fall of the Jews as the access for the Gentiles to get into the kingdom? Get into the kingdom. See, that's a Caesar Christian lie that a lot of Christians adopt because they haven't studied. Right here is the promise, first promise. But go ahead.
But sorry,
7.
So, but before that, God had made this covenant with our father Abraham in the same
No.
Adam, our father Adam, in the same terms before he came out of the garden, when he was by the tree where Eve took of the fruit and gave it to him to eat.
There you go. He made this covenant with Adam to bring in the descendants. So now hopefully that will open up your ears. If you're listening and you've been on that Christian doctrine about the fall of the Jews gave everybody access, now hopefully that'll open up let's see where this is going. Because this could be very lengthy. hopefully you're ready for the ride, so you get this information. But go ahead.
I like what he says. God had made this covenant with
Mm-hmm.
our father Adam, and he
Right.
did it before they left, before they went out the garden.
Yep.
That's pretty. I mean, it's pretty much. He probably still had a little bit of that fruit in his mouth, and he's getting the covenant right then and there.
Right. As he's getting the boot. Yeah, you can't. You ain't gonna be able to stay around here, but I'll bring you back. Got his big foot on his hind part, bah, as he's moving them out. Yeah, there you go. But go ahead.
Verse 8, because when our father Adam came out of the garden, he passed by the tree and saw how God had changed the appearance of it into another form and how it had shriveled. And Adam went he feared.
And as Adam went to it, he feared.
Oh, okay. I think that he's not supposed to be there. Trembled and fell down, but God in his mercy lifted him up, and then made the covenant with him.
So right off the bat, there you go. There is the cup. This is not the three covenants, but this ties into the three covenants, because that is the very covenant which is the eternal goal at the end that was made with Adam, that gave the access back to the garden to all his descendants. Not every last individual, but everyone that comes from him has the access to be able to come back to the garden. So right off the bat, that's a lie that the fall of the Jews gave access to the Gentiles to the eternal kingdom. That's a lie. That is a Roman Caesar Christian lie.
All right. I'll point out real quick. Now, 5,500 years, that's 500 years left before the actual millennial reign. So just keep that in mind. There's a 500-year period of being Adam's descendants being saved for 500 years before the millennial reign. This is a little
right.
Just throw in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we're going same book of Adam and Eve, chapter 49. You have something to say, Jeremiah?
I was just thinking about that. If the Gentiles, if they want to cling on to any covenant, garden through our covenant made with our
you gotta start that over. If the Gentiles want to cling on to any covenant,
if any Gentile out there want to cling on to any covenant, that's going to be the covenant they're going to cling to, because that's the one given to all of Adam's descendants.
Yeah.
I mean, because you want to say, hey, we want to get back in the garden. You should be like, okay, let's keep that in mind. That's the covenant that all of Adam's descendants should cling to. Because the Most High promised he promised Adam, you're a descendant of Adam. That's the primary, that's everybody as a concept. Just put it out there. If you're going to cling on to something, that'd be one I'd cling on to. If you're not Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. I know I'm getting ahead of it, but yeah.
Right on. All right. So chapter 49, verse 8. And this sign, O Adam, will happen to me in my coming on earth. Satan will...
So this is Christ talking to Adam in the garden. He's telling them how this is going to be done. Right? Go ahead.
Satan will raise the people of the Jews to put me to death.
So right there, case in point. This is where, when I tell people we were set up, so-called African Americans, the bloodline Jews. Now, let me make a disclosure with that. There's probably more Northern Kingdom Negroes here than Southern Kingdom Negroes. All right. So I'm gonna say that. So not every single Israelite that is of the Negro persuasion is Judah. A lot of them are Northern Kingdom. That's why a lot of them are still asleep. All right. But if you're hearing this message from a general scope, within that so-called African American community, Judah is there, right? And he's telling you right here, we were set up from the garden to bring forth Christ's crucifixion. And he's telling them how this earth is going to be saved. He's going to raise up Satan to have the Jews, him riles up the Jews to do it, to put me to death. So that's why I tell people, yeah, we're the sacrifice to the sacrifice, because we're set up in a righteous way, though. We have to bear the shame before we reap the blessings of what we did. Okay? So we can't sit up there and rejoice over what we did, because no, we got to bear the shame of it first. And if we don't get through the shame of it, then we'll never get to the blessings. So that's what you got right here. So if you ever heard me say we're the sacrifice to the sacrifice, we're set up, this is why I'm saying what I'm saying. But go ahead.
It says, and they will lay me in a rock and seal a large stone over me, and I shall remain within the rock 3 days and 3 nights. Verse 9. But on the third day I shall rise again, and I shall be a salvation to you, O Adam, and to your descendants, to believe in me. But, O Adam, I will not bring you from under this rock until 3 days and 3 nights have passed.
Right. So there you go. So now I'm going to bring, so through the Spirit of the Most High, we're going to bring the understanding of how that us being set up as the southern kingdom Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, with the snake Dan slithering somewhere around the way, doing this. Okay. All right. So let's go to this is the aspect of how the Most High operates. Right. Go ahead.
So Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all of these things.
So the Lord is in control. This is one thing, Christians, you got to get in mind. You can't say on one breath that the Lord could do anything, everything, whatever he wants. And then when we point out, yeah, he set us up to do, why would God do that? Well, think about it. He put his son on the cross. What did his son do to deserve to go on the cross? That you can consciously in your mind say. So Christ was set up to go to the cross. So why can us Negroes who put him on the cross be set up to do the same thing? He can set up Christ, but not us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Link them together. Oh, but most people want to separate us from Christ and just put Christ out there and say, you Negroes ain't nothing. Christ is for all of us. You guys are nothing. It's just him. Well, somebody had to put him up there. Somebody had to bear the shame of putting him up there.
He set up Pharaoh and the Egyptians. You did multiple times when people were set up.
Right.
Most I was like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Sit
but it's
back and watch it play out.
But see, it was all for the purpose to do what? To bring Adam's seed back to the garden.
Yeah.
Once Adam brought in death, okay, I got to do all these things. So I made peace, I created evil, I did all this stuff. So I got to use all the elements of what I created to bring you and your descendants back to the garden.
But you wouldn't say, if you was to ask somebody like that, like, do you think the Most High is evil? Do you think God is evil? Most people are going to say no.
Well, I wouldn't say he's evil.
But he creates evil.
Yeah, he creates it, though.
So it's like, people that create evil, wouldn't you think that person's evil? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like your mind, your understanding of, you know what I mean? That's why that scripture.
Well,
like, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. Like, you can't.
This is how I comprehend. A false balance is abomination.
Yeah.
There's no up unless there's a down. There's no left unless there's a right.
Understand light unless there's darkness.
Absolutely. So there's no way you could be good unless there's what? Evil. There you go.
So yes, yeah. So he creates all things, but all I'm saying is that people can't really actually really understand that concept,
because the reason why is because that love doctrine, that's been taught in the Caesar Roman churches, they do not bring, because a false balance is an abomination. So if you're talking love, and you're not talking about the other side of love that gives balance to the love, then you give a warped understanding of who the Most High is and how he operates. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people don't, you know what I mean, believe in him that he exists, because they're like,
how can God do that?
Why would he kill all these women and children in a tsunami or a hurricane or earthquake or this or that? You know what I mean? It's like, why would he do that? Why would he allow those people to kill X amount of people? You know what I mean? And it's like,
they don't understand the Most High, because the like I said, that Caesar Roman doctrine overemphasized all this love. False balance is an abomination. They don't know the balance of how the Most High is. If they go in understanding the balance of the Most High on both sides, and then you'll know how to fear the Lord in the righteous way and do His will. Then they wouldn't be so caught up in these things that you talk about. It's, people get flooded out. If you understand the balance of the Most High, you're like, hey, bro, that's how God is. You got to be right with Him. You know what I'm saying, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's the part is study to show thyself approved. And he says, test every spirit and see if it's from God. And if they're giving you a false balance of who the Most High is, then you need to reevaluate who you are receiving your spiritual direction with. You know what I'm saying? That's on every man and woman who goes those routes. But go ahead. You gonna say something, Jeremiah?
Yeah, I was gonna say is that it's that whole false balance concept is actually really a good one to use, because when you understand what that means, it means that you're using the wrong weights and measures in order to determine if something's true or wrong. When you think about what the whole false balance is basically a false balance is where you use the wrong weights and measures in order to determine the truth of something. So when you have what the fallen one has done, and the powers that be in the earth, is they have manipulated the thoughts and principles on how to determine what the truth is. So when you use their doctrine, when you use the ways of this world in order to determine the truth or discern what is true, you're using false weights and measures. So you gotta what I would say that's being suggested here is to check the weights and measures that you're using in order to determine what is the truth. And that's really going into the scripture and seeing these things. Like when you see the phrase God created evil. All right. So, when people have the idea in their mind that God is, somehow or another, God can't use evil, because everything he does, why would he do this? Why would he do that? Because you're operating with false balances and false measures on how to determine what's of God and what's of not. You know what I mean? So, it's really this whole concept is really just to go ahead and kind of check how you determine what's the truth and what's not. That's a way to look at that. So I yield with that.
Yes, for sure. So we're gonna keep going down this whole line so you get the idea how the Most High is moving and operating. So let's go on to the next.
All right, so now we're in Amos chapter 3, verse 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord hath not done it?
So the evil in a city, and the Lord has not done it. So I'm just showing you more and more how the Most High is using evil to execute His will. For what? At the end of all of this is good. So somehow that evil, righteously used by the Most High, is done, may have been some kind of destruction for good eventually, right? But this is how the Father moves. All right, let's go to the next one.
Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15. See, I have set before thee this day life and good, and death and evil.
So he set evil before us. This is the Lord set evil before us. There's a reason why he did that, because we chose evil in the garden, so we got to reject evil. So it has to be hanging around to show that we're really trying to find the Most High. So yes, he's got to leave it lurking around, and we got to make a conscious decision to say, no, we don't want that. Actually, we don't want the fruit of the tree. We want to hear your voice. You know what I'm saying? We want to follow your voice. Your voice is key. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we've been ever since the fall. That's what we've been dealing with from the time of Adam's fall till to this day. But go ahead, next one.
John chapter 19, verse 9. It says, and went again into the judgment hall and saith unto Jesus, Whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer. And then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest not thou not that I have power to crucify thee and have power to release thee? And Jesus said, answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore, he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin.
He that delivered me unto thee. So there you go. Christ spoke in the flesh what he spoke to Adam in the spirit about the Jews, Southern Kingdom, so-called Negroes, so-called African American, that we're going to suffer the sin, the punishment for putting Christ on the cross, which is about to save Adam's seed and descendants, to bring Adam himself and his descendants back into the garden, which is once again the setup. So that's why you got, when he went to the cross, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. Why? Because we were set up to do what? We were set up to bring Adam and his descendants back into the garden. So we are the extensions of Christ's sacrifice. Keep going.
Verse 12, it says, And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him, but the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whoso maketh him himself a king speaketh against Caesar.
That's our people. That's what our people is doing. You know what I'm saying? You chose Caesar, and that's why we have Caesar ruling over the earth right now. That's what you did. That's what we did.
If you don't vote, you're not Caesar's friend.
And the thing, and you ain't black. You don't vote. You ain't black. You know what I'm saying? That sound like our people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so people say, "Oh, that was Judas." No, you hear the Jews, our forefathers, doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're in this mess. So now, what did Christ do, and what did he tell our people as a commandment before this even took place? Right? So you'll know the model. Go ahead. Let's go to the next reference.
So Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Therefore, all things whatsoever you would that men should do to you, do you even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets.
So since we chose to unjustly get Christ put in jail, we charged him with false crimes, been abused, killed unrighteously, put up on the cross, lied on, all these things that we did. Guess who gets the model in society in America? Who do these kind of things happen to? If you want to know, you know a tree by its fruits. If you want to know who Christ's people is, who goes through the very same things that Christ went through on the cross, the same things: false imprisonment, false charges, lied on, killed unjustly, crucified. Look, he got tortured on the way to the cross. Our people burnt on trees and the stakes and all the things that happened to our people during the time of chattel slavery. And this modified do unto other as you would have them do unto you. So you chose to turn the Father's Son over to the Romans to get treated in such a heinous way. So the Father did the same thing to you. He gave you to the children of the Romans himself. They have the same thing done, right? So here we go. Go to the next reference.
So Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
So that is the parallel. That is the mirror. You look at who as a race, as people call it today, go through the same things, modeling what Christ went through as a race. What race goes through that in this country?
So-called black.
Because we reap what it's so. Hung him on a tree, we got hung on the trees. Gave him to the Romans, we're to the Romans' children. And they're wearing crosses on their the red sheets. We got the crosses and all that. So it's telling you exactly you're reaping what you sow. See, that's the funny thing. You got all these Christians. Oh, man, the fleshly stuff is done. We're in the spirit. Everything's the spirit. You start trying to tell them, hey, well, the Israelites, we're all still God. So, it's spiritual. It's spiritual now. And then when you try to tell them spiritual concept, like you reap what you sow. Oh, African Americans go through the same thing Christ did because we put on the Christ. See, look at the parallel, the spiritual parallel. Oh, they can't see that, but they're so spiritual. It's crazy. How can you be spiritual driven on one end, but then when it's time to have that spiritual knowledge and conversation, all of a sudden you have no concept of spiritual.
What spirit?
You know what I'm saying? So this is your spiritual connection. We reap what we sow. So we suffered in the same manner that Christ suffered. Because what? We are the extension of the sacrifice. We are the sacrifice to the sacrifice. Christ is the husband. We're the wife, the greater and the lesser, the helpmeet to the wife. So we was the helpmeet to help Christ fulfill his purpose for bringing Adam's righteous seed back into the garden. If you want to understand the concept, spiritual.
Now that you mention that, a lot of times the woman suffers a lot because of her husband. In society, when things go down, when bad things happen, a lot of women suffer because of their husbands and their men that they're with. They suffer. So it only makes perfect sense that his people should also suffer. You know what I mean? That same kind of relation.
Yes, and specifically the tribe of Judah. We're apex number one suffering behind this. Even though the other tribes suffer, but you go in order, I would say Judah definitely number one, Levi number two, Benjamin number three. And then the rest of the tribes fall in whatever order they fall into.
Right, Ephraim.
Yeah, possibly Ephraim because he was a king at one point. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's finish this last point.
So Romans chapter 12, verse 1, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
It's our reasonable service. We are the living sacrifice to the sacrifice. He wasn't talking to no non-fleshly bloodline Israelites or Jews. He was talking to the southern kingdom when he was making that statement. So when people try to disconnect the actual bloodline Israelites or the bloodline Jews to the Messiah, that's who you would call it Antichrist, or you're boasting against the natural branches, which the Lord told you in Paul's writings that you will be cut off for boasting against the branches. So this is what we're trying to do by sealing up the understanding of the covenants, is so you can get off that boasting against the branches or the natural branches. So you understand what's really going on. So that's the end of part one. So what Most High willing, what we're going to do in part 1, 2, 3, and 4, hopefully they're only going to be long enough for those parts, is break down each covenant, Abraham's, Isaac's, and then Jacob's covenant. So you can get an idea of what those covenants is and how they all work together to bring forth the eternal kingdom, bring them Adam's righteous seed back into the garden. So with that being said, any brother want to put in their last thoughts on this?
Yeah, the next three, those three covenants is how the Most High is going to fulfill the covenant he made to Adam. All all people. Think about that. He's fulfilled. He made a promise to Adam of how he was going to protect, how he's going to preserve and bring back Adam's descendants, which is all, you know, within reason, unless you do it's evil. But those that want that chance, the next three is how he's going to fulfill it. You know,
Israelite or not.
Israelite or not. So if you're a Gentile and you listen to this, then you should be clinging unto the covenant of Adam and looking to understand how is the Most High going to fulfill that promise to Adam. You're all of our forefathers, all of us. That's our forefather. Every man, woman, and child out here. How is he going to do it? The next three is going to explain that. Most High willing. All right. Shalom.
All right. So with that being said, hopefully you'll be sticking around for all the studies, and hopefully you get some understanding. Once again, like, share, subscribe, and most high willing, we'll see you on the next video. Shalom.